Welcome to The Roofer Show with your host, Dave Sullivan. You found the podcast that helps roofing contractors grow their businesses, make more money, and have more free time.
Hey everybody, what's up? Welcome to the Roofer Show podcast, the place to be if you want to grow a more profitable roofing business. I am your host, Dave Sullivan, the roofer coach. And right next to me is John DeLaurier of Peach Roofing, Savannah, Georgia. What's going on, John?
Not much, Dave. Been a busy week already. It's only Tuesday as we're recording this, so everything going well, though.
Yeah, all right. Well, we just had an interesting conversation. And like you know, I don't know why we just don't hit record as soon as we jump on the on the call, you know, and then we'd be done, okay? But we got some great stuff. And what spurred this conversation was I've got 3 coaching clients right now, came from other industries. They know nothing about roofing, but they want to get into the roofing business. Okay. And it's, you know, you can go a couple of ways, or you can go a few ways, actually. You can buy one of these franchises. Mighty Dog, Honest Abe, these guys. Okay. And it's kind of like buying a Subway. Well, it should be like buying a Subway, but it's a roofing business, so it's a little different. You can buy another company, which I personally think is potentially a good idea, because you've got a lot of older people, guys like myself, that want to exit their business. And how do you get out of that? Well, if you can get a guy that's, you know, wants to bring on younger blood, for instance, and buy them out a little over time, and they're going to stay there, kind of teach the ropes and so forth. I think there's a lot of advantage to that, depending on what they want, you know, what they're looking for their business, which is usually too much. But the third one is you just start one up. And that's what I've got these guys doing. And I love it. I mean, you know, I got one that came from private equity, another one from the advertising business, and, another one from private industry, know nothing about roofing. So we started talking about this. I said, well, let's make a good podcast, because if we were to start a roofing business, how would we do it today? Because it's certainly different today, I think, than it was 10 years ago. And John, you've been in business for a while, so we're going to rely on you to tell us what they should do today, and maybe some of the mistakes that you've made. Maybe you'd do things differently. Let's find. Well, let's find out. So why don't you, I'm just going to run through, and I think we'll ask you a few questions, and we'll just get this conversation rolling, because that's what it is. It's just a conversation. Hey, total transparency. We're not selling anything. We're not doing, but this is going to help a lot of people, I think. And whether you go back, and maybe some people are struggling on this startup, well, there's maybe a few ideas. So, John, what do you think? How do we get started with what we're going to do? Which I think we all know the answer, because this is, by the way, I will plug this, which is our one-page business plan. And you can go to theroofershow.com and download this for free. And I assume this is kind of where the conversation's going to go, because that's pretty good, and we talk about that all the time. So, John, let's hit it.
So the roofing industry is a really rewarding place to be. It's very challenging. You can definitely make a good income personally to do what we're doing. We're talking about residential roofing right now. You can definitely do commercial. I just left a apartment complex this morning, doing an inspection there. So light commercial, residential, all around the country. We're speaking in generalities. Every market's different. Every market has different challenges. I did not start my business how I wanted to. I would love to have had more planning, more time, more money that was saved up to do it. It was kind of forced on me. Had to do something to make income for my family. So
let me just throw in full transparency here on what I did, because I was a roofing contractor for 30 years. And I was in the commercial business. I started off with a small family business. And everybody thinks it was, you got it easy and so forth. It wasn't. I mean, if I were to do it again, I probably wouldn't have gone that way. I would have started from scratch because you've got a lot of problems with that. One is this company was totally screwed up. We weren't really making any money. My brother comes in here all of a sudden because he's family and he doesn't know squat about roofing. I mean, I tore off roofs in the summer and so forth in school. And, I was pretty good. I always planned going into this business. And here he comes in and all of a sudden we're partners now. Well, that wasn't planned. It turned out to be a disaster. And this is what happens. So many partnerships just don't make it, whether, just like so many marriages, but at least there you get to choose who you want to marry and why and have a pretty good reason. But this was difficult. So we started off and I bought my brother out. So I started off with a bunch of debt practically, bought my father out and so forth. So here we are. I mean, it was a real struggle. But after 30 years, I figured it all, kind of figured it out, exited the business. For me, I loved it. It was tremendous and very, very profitable business. So that's kind of my story. And, I had semi-retired and then started this podcast 7 years ago, just for a hobby. And then, started doing requests for coaching. John, we started working together, 6 years ago or so, which is probably why your business isn't thriving and it should be. Just kidding. But anyway, that's kind of my story. So I can add a few things in because I've had from the beginning, cradle to grave. And so that's my deal. But John, you're in residential business. Tell us about your deal.
So I think you're pointing out something that's pretty significant, that most people don't start a roofing business just like with the perfect setup. I'll concur and agree. I strongly recommend most people don't have long-lasting partnerships. I would do it solo and then maybe have team members that maybe have some equity like what we do at Peach Roofing, but don't have 2 or 3 or 4 partners. It's typically never works. Statistically doesn't work.
Yeah, I think you got to have a damn good reason for doing that. One, and the way I looked at it is, well, you need somebody financially. Well, I could always find the money. Okay. So without giving away equity and expertise, again, you can hire expertise. I had a great group of guys and took care of them and grew the business, but I never gave up equity after that bad experience that I had. So if you're going to start a partnership, you got to look at the long term because it's really difficult. We could have had a whole podcast on that. So anyway, back to you, John.
No, you're fine. Very specifically, the way our equity is lined up in our company is we're not doing profit sharing. We have compensation plans, but then the equity is only at time of sale. So there's no decision making except for me. But my team members are amazing and they have a vested interest in growing the business and eventually selling the business one day. So that's what I want them to do, is long-term, not short-term gains. It's really important that they have some skin in the game and understand that if they go somewhere else, they're not going to get that good of a deal. Right. And I have attracted 2 really, really great guys who work with me and want to grow the business as well. So we've spent about 9 minutes talking about a bunch of stuff. Let's kind of get into the nuts and bolts of what I would do right now, 2024, starting a business. I realize that I've been in the roofing industry professionally for almost 15 years now. So I've had my business for almost a decade, but then I've been an insurance agent. I've done other businesses in that time as well. But if I was starting it from scratch, first thing is I would do is understand why I'm doing it. I want to make money. Okay, great. Well, let's get deeper into that. Like, what does that look like? Do you want to take the responsibility that's tremendous? The new saying that everyone's saying is like, I quit my 9 to 5 so I can work 70 hours for myself, or like Mark Cuban, a bunch of things like that. You're going to work more, especially in the beginning, and you may never stop working tons until you get your systems in place and your people in place, stuff like that.
Yeah, the independence and making more money, all of those things that you think you're going to start a business for, it's not that easy.
Yeah, it's always hard. It will always be hard. You're not going to find some magic key. You may find some windfalls that help you get through things, but actually growing a profitable business that runs without you is going to take a significant amount of work for years just to get it to the point where it can run by itself and not just survive, but actually thrive, grow, and be profitable. And that's where we are right now. It's like we have a business that's running very, very, very closely completely by itself, and it's surviving without me totally. But thriving is the next level, and so that takes a tremendous amount of work. So why are you doing this? Do you want to do that? Do you want to sell the business one day? Do you want to build something huge? And why are you doing that? You need to really think that through. And this is something that I wish I had done more. I've stayed very similar on that path. Very much what you say, Dave, a lot, where you didn't want to be the biggest in town, you want to be the most profitable. That's essentially what we want to do as well. So moving forward.
Let me just jump in with a couple of things here. That is so important. And you're talking about really digging down, because I work with a lot of contractors and I do a free discovery call and so forth. But I would say half the contractors or half the guys that call me should not be running a business. They should be working for somebody else. And I get these guys that'll come to me and the odds are stacked against you, first off, because what do we say? You can look at all the statistics. 90% of roofing contractors are going to go out of business within the first 5 years. I mean, just look at that. Think about that. I mean, the odds of you succeeding are really hard. So you're dealing with that. Then it's just such a struggle. Do you have that entrepreneurial mind, that grind also, or are you thinking, like you say, some guys come in and think this is going to be easy, and it's not. So understanding that why is so important. Why are you doing this? And that's the first question I always ask. And usually it's like, I'm doing $2 million now, and I want to do $20 million. I go, well, why do you want to do that? And they said, I want to spend time with my family and this and that. Well, if you're going to grow at $20 million, you're not going to be spending time with your family. You're going to be working your ass off, So that's really important. Think about that. Think about your destination. And that's where we always start.
Yeah. I'd also warn people about, like, I'm working for this company. I hate my boss or whatever it is, or I like my boss. It doesn't really matter. And they're, making all this money. I'd hesitate really strongly to understand. You may see things in these online, on Facebook, all these things. You may see nice, shiny objects. I'm just here to tell you that we talk to tons of contractors, and they're not actually making any money. There's revenue. There's huge revenue numbers. It just makes me laugh hilariously whenever you're like, this sales rep just hit $1 million. This one hit $2 million. Are they actually making money personally? Is the company making money? Are they hiring a PA to do all this insurance work, and they're giving all their profits to these other entities? You just really need to look really, really closely at the numbers to understand if they're actually making money or not. So
I'm going to say something that may offend a lot of people, but roofers are liars. All right. Everybody talks about how much money they're making and so forth. I look at a lot of financial statements. Okay. And there's just not that many that make real money, that are making enough money. One, they're making a big profit in the business. Okay. They're keeping that in there. But when you talk about individual salary and owner's compensation, because not only do you have to provide for your family and so forth, but you should be putting money aside in a retirement account. You should be putting money aside for your kids' education account. You should be having life insurance. You should be having disability insurance. Yep. And that's something that, I had disability insurance. I had to use it. And that really saved me in a time where I couldn't get on a roof and so forth.
Yeah, I was
so
important. I was an insurance agent, and you are 6 times more likely
Right.
to have a partial disability in your life that prevents you from doing part or all of the work that you currently do. So I have disability insurance as well. And
As you should.
all that stuff costs money. You have to make profit to
Right.
pay for all these things that Dave just said. So I'd say this. Well, I see this guy doing this and this guy doing that. And there's a storm here and they're making all this money here. Okay, that's great. If you're starting a business, the why part of the why has to be, how long are you going to do this? Is it going to be 5 years, 10 years? If you're thinking about the short term, and I don't mean one guy sold this much in a month, or another guy sold this much during a storm season, or this happened with this company for this year. We're not talking about that. You have to think longer term. What Dave said is true. The 2-year mark is the baseline. How much consistent profit, how much cash are you keeping in a 2-year window? Because you got to pay taxes. You have insurance audits. Those are 2 big things that people realize, oh, I made all this money. And then you realize you don't have any money at the end of the first year or the 18 months.
Yep.
You really have to think in that 2-year window, like how much money it's going to take to achieve these financial goals.
When I start off with a new business, we talk about a 2-year business plan. Okay. And I can pretty much sum it up that your job is to stay in business for the first 2 years, because most don't. So if you can stay in business and build a strong foundation and just focus on doing that consistently, then you've got a place that you can jump off onto.
Yep. So we're really hammering home the why. You've really got to think about all these things, because we talk about this with guys a lot, and you really have to get this nailed down for yourself personally. You need to talk to like family members. You need to this has to be a really important part of what you're doing.
Spouse, you got to be on on the same page and be committed to this, because it can just tears families apart.
Yep. So let's get to more easy things, but you really have to think about them seriously as well. Where's your market? How far are you willing to travel? What makes sense? My opinion is that you shouldn't be traveling much longer than an hour from your home or your office. It just doesn't make sense in the residential space. About an hour's drive, 45 minutes, really. It just every possible problem as you sell jobs outside of that just doesn't make sense. So the where is important. You need to do some market research on your market. What's the average income? You're going to probably make that if you consistently stay in business year after year. If you're selling to people who make a low income, their percentage of replacing their roof is also low. Their homes are smaller, their roofs are smaller, the profit's smaller. You need to think about who you are selling to in that market. So the location, we're going to get to who, but the location determines that. You can't just say, you're just not going to travel for 10 years or 5 years all over the country and have all the things that you wanted in the why. It's just almost certainly not going to happen. So you have to understand where you live, where your office is. That's why we have a second office in Savannah. We knew that there's more people, higher income. Athens, solid, but there's way more potential in Savannah as well. So I did it. I practice what I preach. I researched it, and we moved and had a second office. The next thing, what services are you going to provide? We talk about this so much.
Yep.
Don't do 5 things. Do 1 or 2. I hate doing gutters. Gutters are profitable, but it's another step, another sub. They can be easy. They can be an extra $500, $1,000, $2,000 a job. However, it definitely gums up the whole production process. It's a different business. So you really have 2 businesses. You have the roofing business and the gutter business. You do trim, you do siding, you do windows, you do painting. It just doesn't make sense to do all those things. You just created 4 or 5 different other businesses. Oh, it's easy. I can just do it. No, Watch your profit drop.
Exactly.
Watch your efficiency drop. So it is.
Here's the deal the deal on that is, and I see this all the time, is that you're, like you say, you're doing windows, you're doing this. I mean, why are you doing this? Oh, well, my customers ask for it. Well, that's not a reason why Oh, I want to do a swimming pool. Well, let's do that too. And I can look at a company and we'll break those profit centers down because they are really separate businesses. So we look at that, and it's always two of the services are losing money.
Yep.
And maybe two of them are making money. And the time suck for that loser business, it's sucking all your time. Forget it. Focus on, the riches are in the niches. Focus down on what you do well and what you're going to do. There's plenty of business out there for whatever that's going to be. If you want to be a gutter guy, be the best there is. There's plenty of business out there.
And I'm speaking from experience because my business was called DeLaurier Roofing and Renovation. We did kitchens, we did baths, we did additions, we did everything. And it felt good because we were doing all basically out the gate. I was really good with customers. I'm honest. I'm going to give fair pricing, too low pricing at that point. And we did all these big jobs that felt good because we were busy. Worked my butt off and didn't make any money. There's no profit in that because the time you spend at a job, your profit margin lowers every single hour that you're there. And so you really need to think about all home services in that regard, is that you need to be at people's homes the least amount of hours as you possibly can to make the most profit and truthfully give the best customer experience, because the customer doesn't want you there either. They want their problem solved right then. If they could just snap their fingers, they'd replace their roof in a minute. So I say all that to say that I've learned and lost tons of money and tons of stress just by niching down to just roofing and just gutters. Even niching down to just shingles or just metal, or pick your niche and do that. That's what I'd say. We beat that dead horse quite a bit throughout the years. So,
and as we should.
Yep. So next thing is, we talked about this, but who is your ideal customer? This is, again, tied to the location where, but you need to target the people that you want to work with. And you may not know who that is yet. You may think it's just only wealthy people. That's not necessarily true. Some of those people are really bad customers. You need to understand what they like and what they don't like, what they value and what they don't value. Do they value a wrap truck, high professionalism, a great proposal, a crew that wears all the same shirts? Whatever you value as a business owner, you need to work with people who value the same thing, because sometimes people just don't value the same thing, and you're just going to be frustrated, basically. So
Great.
There's a whole podcast on your ideal customer, but who is that person you really need to try to understand and continue to refer back to every quarter, every 6 months. Finally, we talked about this a little bit, and you mentioned this in the beginning, Dave, is that how are you going to do this? How are you going to make this happen? It's going to take money.
Cash.
And I started a lot of money, and I wish I had more money. I wish I had money saved. I didn't have any money saved. People owed me money. It was a really difficult time to start the business.
How much money?
Okay. I think this depends on the market. I think minimum 50 grand if you're in the lowest southeastern market, 50 grand. It just, and the reason I say that is because you will spend it it'll take you less than a week to spend all that money.
Yep.
Have a marketing plan, but if you want to dominate, if you've gone through why you're doing this really well, you understand where you're serving, you understand what services you're going to offer, you understand who you're serving, who you're targeting, the how becomes way easier because you can set up door hanger campaigns. That's going out yourself. You don't have to knock doors. You can knock doors if you want, but hanging out door hangers and understanding who you're targeting. Is it going to be a picture of your face? Is it going to be a picture of a roof? Is it going to be a picture of your family? What keywords are going to be on that door hanger? What keywords are going to be on the postcards that you create? How is your yard sign going to look? Are you going to have really aggressive looking font? It's reds and blacks and super aggressive. Are you targeting men who care about that, hardcore roofer? Probably shouldn't do that, by the way.
That's right.
Who is your ideal customer, and how are you going to execute that? How do you develop billboards? your website, all those things matter. Answering those questions first, and then that's how you'll know how to spend your marketing dollars. And I highly recommend understanding all those things, understanding what's the best brand that you have, and then just going all in. So the more money that you have, the faster your growth will be if you have a plan in place. It's not about just putting an ad out there on Google. That's just not going to work. Your acquisition cost is going to be too high, and you don't have a brand built. It's going to be very, very difficult just to throw money like that at $300, $500 a customer, $1,000 a customer. Let's don't even get into the accounting part of it yet. We'll talk about that in a minute. But using a marketing strategy within your budget is probably the most effective way of how you're going to execute this plan of your new roofing business. It's so much more complicated than what I'm saying right now, but answer those questions first, and it takes money to actually execute at the how of what we're going to do to start this roofing business. All right. We talk about org chart. We talk about org chart quite a bit. So organization chart. You may think, I see these guys driving Lamborghinis. They're selling a bunch of roofs. They're making a bunch of money. There are great guys out there who are way better at sales than I am. There are great minds out there that understand numbers and the minutia of accounting and all those things, and they've come from some sort of professional number background. There are also guys who have been roofing for a long time. I've installed roofs, but that's not where my background is. There's a lot of guys who are awesome at production, have great crews. Those three types of individuals that we see do not necessarily have what it takes to run a successful roofing business. They may be good at those particular things and may complement the other parts of the organization chart. But running a roofing business is so much more than that. And so there's really 5 parts to any business, but let's just talk about what I see in the order that I see it. Most people think that we say this all the time, nothing happens until you make a sale. That is true. But there's a lot that goes on before the sale even happens to make the profit. So let's get through it, the organization chart in this order. Admin. Who is going to answer your phone? In the beginning, it's probably you. You better make sure that you're answering your phone every single time. Block the spam calls, but make sure you're answering every single phone call. And as early as you can, hire Ruby receptionists. Like, they are going to be a couple $100, $300 a month, $500 a month. It's going to be worth it to have somebody that's a real person answering your phone. That's the first thing. Admin.
Do not use an answering machine, or voicemail.
Do not do that. Second thing, part of the admin is they just need to understand your pre-qualification questions. So you need to have a website. It doesn't have to be a $20,000 website, but it does need to be a website that can be built for a few $1,000s so that it eventually can be grown into search engine optimization, SEO, and you'll be able to find it on Google much easier. So it's really important. That's where you spend some of your money that you have to start this business on the website. So the website form can be super simple. Put people's faces on it. Real people's faces.
Right.
Your faces, your dog's face, whatever it is, but put real people on the website. Don't just put stock images of people and then stock images of roofs. If you've never done a roof before, it doesn't matter. Put real images on the website. Make it simple, form, easy.
Let me ask you this, okay? So I would say, one of the first objections you're going to come across, and you better have a good story, is how long you been in business? A week or 2.
Yep.
How do you deal with that, and how do you position yourself? As you say, you want to have your face, the owner's face, people's face, true people on your website. Absolutely. Who am I dealing with? Because this is a people business. If you don't like people, you're in the wrong business.
Totally true. So going back to admin, pick somebody who's really good at talking to people on the phone. That's a really important, that's one thing Ruby does really well. They're all these friendly voices. Don't have the dud, hello, this is blah, blah, blah. It's not going to work. First impression. Yeah. So I read an article a long time ago. The director of first impressions that is your admin, whoever's answering your phone. That's what they are. It's a super important role. It's an underpaid role. So we try to pay as much as we possibly can that makes sense, because it's really, really important for customers to hear a friendly voice over the phone. Same with the website. If you're in the roofing space, carry some shingles, do somebody's shed for free, and take pictures of yourself replacing that roof. Like, that's an easy thing to do. Hey, ask your best friend, hey, I'll do this at cost if you just let me take videos and let me take pictures of myself roofing this roof and showing people that I know exactly how to put a roof together. It's not essential, but that's just a pro tip. I think I would do that if I was starting out. Like, how much experience do you have? Watch these videos. Watch it. It's on the website anyway. All right, we're moving on. This will be a ridiculously long podcast if we keep going. Admin
so you're telling me to shut up, right? Okay, no, I got it.
I'm rambling. I'm trying to get to my notes.
No.
Right, so we've got admin. These are just basic things that you need to do. Accounting. Accounting's next, because the accounting's going to give the knowledge and the transparency for yourself as an owner. And then as you grow your team, transparency in the accounting. It means telling your people what you need to make and what the profit margins need to be and what the expenses are. You can choose whatever you want to do for transparency there, but I have found the more transparent that I am with my team, the more grace they give me when mistakes are made. And also, whenever we're trying to sell jobs, they have confidence because they understand how much it freaking costs to run a roofing business.
And one thing the reason here is we've got to know what to charge. How do you know what to charge? It's not $400 a square or whatever. That's what everybody does. Well, that doesn't have anything to do with your business. You have costs, and that's the first thing. You start with that is add up, and you're going to be miles off, but add up all of your costs. What's it going to take to turn the lights on every day? Well, you've got insurance, you've got website, you've got all of these things, that you're going to have. And half of them you're not even going to think of. So make sure you've got enough fluff in there to charge the right price.
Totally. And $10,000 a month is a good starting point.
Yep,
like,
I agree.
If you think it's less than that, you're wrong. So just know that this is what people need to understand, that we're starting. If we're just a startup, just plan for $10,000 a month, just to start. Then on top of that, you need to share your vision with your team as you grow. We want to grow to X number. And this is the reason why. This is part going back to your why. I want to do this. I want to be the most profitable roofing business in this market. Well, you need to budget for that, for the growth part. You need specifically the marketing budget. You need to probably have higher than a 5% marketing budget in the beginning, just because you need to get your name out there. So that's going to take a lot more profit dollars to fund that than a startup would typically be. So if people ask you, like, how long you've been in business, they may. But if you set yourself up going through this admin and now accounting part, and we'll get to the end. When I first started, I didn't really get that question a lot because they thought I was a much bigger, older company, because I cared about all these things. I thought about the website. I thought about wearing polo shirts and having wrap trucks and things like that. That was important to show professionalism. So the question of how long you've been in business, it did come up, but it was really rare. It was more about like the intent behind what we did as we built our brand. So third thing.
And that, well, just not to, but brand, we didn't really hammer on that, but the building a brand, and that's what you're going to do, because it's complicated. I mean, one, finding a URL that makes sense is freaking impossible. How do you get a name of your business well thought out that's going to work? You've got to have your logo and your colors, and you got to have this stuff together, and it matters, and that's expensive to do.
It is. So going back to that $50,000,
yep,
you can throw down 10 in 2 minutes for marketing. You
Easy.
Can throw down way more. I mean, we love Kick Charge and Dan Antonelli. You're talking $30,000, $40,000, $50,000 just before you do anything.
Set up a brand, exactly.
Yeah. To trademark it, to do all the legal stuff, to name it to all that design wrapping, all that stuff. It's 30, 40, 50 grand. So just know that's the premium level. If you really want to go high level for a startup, is you're going to just budget in 50 grand just for the marketing part, just for that initial brand marketing. That's before you buy a single yard sign or a single billboard or anything like that. Just know that's what it takes. All right. So third thing is marketing. You've got this brand. You've thought well through, like Dave said. How are you going to market? How do people buy in your market? You talk about, like, again, going back to where and who. Understand the buying habits of the people in the place that you serve. It may be the shopping cart ads. It may be a billboard. It may be, who knows what it is, but you need to know what it is. And it's really important that you understand that how people buy high ticket home services. Look at your HVAC companies. They offer a pretty consistent service as well, but they're also selling $10,000, $15,000, $25,000 HVACs as well. Sound familiar? Look at how they market and brand themselves. Mm-hmm. That's how I'd be budgeting for the marketing piece. And that's the third element of the organization chart.
Cost-wise there, you mentioned 5%, but we do a lot of shows about the $1 million roofer, how to hit your first $1 million, because we deal with smaller companies for the most part because it's an underserved market and we like to help these guys. But to do that,
when you start out, it's got to be 10%. You better be spending
exactly
to $120,000. I mean, I was spending crap. Let's just talk about apparel. You can throw down for hats. You're going to spend $1,000 your first year in hats. You're going to spend $2,500 your first year in long sleeve shirts for the guys, polo shirts, hoodies. You better be spending this money on
truck wraps.
There's not even getting into truck wraps yet. Just apparel.
Yep.
You're going to be spending $3,000 to $5,000 to possibly $10,000 on apparel, and you won't even realize. These are really important things that can make a huge impact to actually move the needle so that you dominate your market and actually win significant market share. It's all really, really important, and you should be spending money. So like that 5%, again, you should not be spending $50,000 your first year. You should be spending $80,000, $100,000, $120,000. Because you're starting out. You shouldn't be paying yourself a ton of money at this point. You should be trying to dominate that market with the marketing budget. That's the third organization chart. So fourth is production. Make sure that you have a great relationship with installers. If you're in the residential space, you better be really close, treat them really well, pay them really well, set clear expectations, start to finish, meet with them before you do your first roof. Even if you've worked with them in the past with other roofs, you're starting a new thing. And that was some growing pains for me because I worked with one of my crews before I started my business. So there's different expectations. Like, you got to install drip edge and tear out the entire roof off. You can't just leave the felt and not install drip edge. That's what the old company was doing that they were working with. And they didn't want to do it, but they're a great crew. We walked it through. We understood, hey, this is a code requirement. This is a state code requirement. This is a manufacturer requirement. These are all the things that you need to be really, really nailed down to production part of things before you even start your roofing business. Make sure that expectation with your crew is rock solid before you do your first roof. The cleanliness, all that stuff needs to be nailed down really well. All right, so we sell roofs. The fifth and final in that order is sales. We're not a sales podcast. We're not a sales mastermind. There's a lot of great salespeople out there. There's a lot of great. We've had Adam Binsman on. There's so many people out there that teach really good sales techniques. You just need to know, based on what we're saying right now, and what Dave and I have discussed over years, is that sales is only about 20% or 25% at the most of the importance of your business. And most people think, well, nothing happens if you don't sell anything. That is true. However, if you don't have the other 4 parts of the organization chart, you cannot make a sale and stay in business for that 2 years, 3 years, to 5 years and longer. The sales can fix things in a very short time, maybe 90 days, maybe 6 months, maybe a year. Sales can kind of kick the can, but you need to understand that sales is not everything. If you
And we're not talking about.
Well, if you do all the other things, then the sales will work out. That you can always improve in sales. You definitely can. But we're about building something long term.
Yep. And get sales training that is not how to scale your business to 30x, 50x, and listen to these guys that are making it sound so easy to sell all this work. It's not. I mean, this is we're running a business here, and it doesn't matter if it's selling roofing or selling shoes. You got to understand the whole assembly of this business, as John's talking about.
It's so true. I know people run sales organizations or production organizations and they have success, but they're not in business for more than 5 years. Statistically, they're just not. Well, I've been doing this for 2 or 3 years or 4 years. Great. Are you making profit?
$20 million. Mm-hmm.
Are you making profit? And is your personal life what it wants to be? Like, well, it's always supposed to be hard. I'm supposed to work 80 hours a week forever. No, you're not. You're supposed to have an organization that works like a machine all together. Every team member on your team has a purpose and a plan for each day and each week and each month. That is what a real business owner should be striving to accomplish. Not just, can I be the biggest guy in town, or can I just have these numbers that boost my ego, but are we all making money, and are we all having relatively productive, prosperous, good days and good weeks? Like, that is it. There's no other secret. There's no magic thing. Are you able to take care of yourself, your health? Are you able to exercise, be with your family, I coached all 3 of my kids' soccer teams this year. Yep. Like, what are your goals and why? Going back to, we said this before we hit record. Why are we doing this? Why are you starting your roofing business? Go back to the why.
Why did you start a business, John?
It is all the reasons that I'm saying. I wanted to make a significant income. I didn't really care so much if Elizabeth stayed at home, but we've really realized the minute she was a cardiac ICU nurse for almost a decade, and when she came home and we were able to make enough money so that she didn't have to work, it was a pretty big light bulb for both of us that our family life got way better. There's way less stress. There's still stress, but it was something that's a why for me right now, so that I can continue to make enough income that she doesn't have to work, and that we can both be at home with our kids and do all the things. We went to the beach. I counted 10 or 11 times in the past 14 days. I don't even love the beach. My family loves the beach, but I have the time because I schedule my days a certain way. So I have the freedom to work really hard in the time that I have throughout the day. I can go to the gym when I want to go to the gym. I have that freedom, and I have the ability to make as much income as I want to make with how much time I want to put into it. So that's my why. And I love building things. I love building things. I love helping customers. I still get super excited whenever my phone has a ProLine notification that a contract gets signed. It's super fun for me that we built this thing that homeowners saw value in, and then decided to trust us to be their roofing contractor. That's what drives me, and why we still do roofing, and why it's just a great opportunity. It's super hard, but that's what drives me every day and every week.
I was really clear on my why from the beginning, because I mentioned that I was in a small family business, and my father, he was chained to that business, and he just worked. And it was really a rake structure where all of the decisions came to him. He was doing everything himself, working his ass off. Great guy. Ran a pretty good business, but man, it was tough. And he always said, "Oh, when I retire, I'm going to do all these things. I'm going to build this business up." Well, he had a heart attack and he didn't get a chance to do any of this stuff, all the things that he had planned. Well, I saw that and I said, I want to run things differently. I'm going to build a business because you've got a blank canvas. What do you want to build? And I wanted to build a company that did not rely on me totally, because I wanted it exactly as you're saying, John. I had 3 little boys. I wanted to have time to coach their sports, go to their stuff. And my wife, she was working when we started, but she didn't work either. And we were able to do those things because I wanted to travel. That was my main focus. I love to travel, still do. And not only does that require a lot of money, but it requires the ability to leave and take that 2-week vacation that we talk about without having your business fail. And as you'd mentioned, you were really working yourself out of a job, which is what we want to do. And this is why we say from day one, we build to sell. And what that means is that our goal is to have the ability to sell that business that we have built value in to another outside buyer, whether you want to sell or not. That gives you options. And that's what we're trying to do. We're trying to build like a franchise, something that's doesn't rely on you. You can step back because you've built those positions, that org chart that you're talking about, John. And that's what's so important.
So important. And it's going back to what you've taught for years is, do you have a job? First, you have a job. The business relies on you. You just have a job. Then you eventually kind of creep into owning a business, because the business, as you grow your team members and going through that org chart, you have to have either software in place or people in place, or both, to make sure that org chart happens without you. Typically, it's one person per organization. So there's probably 4 or 5 people that you need. So then it survives. And then you realize, okay, am I still doing my why? Am I achieving my why in the roofing business? Are we still getting 5-star reviews? Are customers happy? Are we being profitable? Now, are we growing and thriving? And so that's the ultimate. I think that's the most amazing thing that we can do. You can throw any kind of profession out there, attorney, doctor, it doesn't matter. Scientist, NASA engineer, I don't care. If you can build something from nothing, essentially, and you work really hard, and it goes from something that's a job to a business that survives, and now a business that thrives, I think that's the most amazing thing. That's part of my why. I love that part. And so the journey to get to the thriving part that doesn't rely on me, and not just have a team that is, they're happy to be part of their job. No. I want them to love. And I think that we're building that, is that work is always hard, but having a good place to work is so much more rewarding. And
yep.
All 4 of my team members right now are amazing. And I think the feedback that I get, at least, is that they're all happy to be part of the organization. So
they told me that too.
I'll keep trying to create an organization, an opportunity for all of them, so that continues and that we do thrive. And I want to keep working. I don't want to just step away forever, but I want to build something that it works well and serves our communities to the best that we possibly can.
I love it. Can I ask you some questions?
Ask me.
Okay. So looking back, what's your advice? What would you have done differently? Just some key points of what you learned through your experience. And it is going to be the good, bad, and the ugly experience that we have.
Yeah, I've made a lot of mistakes. I don't think I've been foolish necessarily. I just wish that I had taken, I'm not detail oriented, so I think I would have found someone who could help me really focus on the details and then implement those things really well. Like, I really love working with Sam. She is our new marketing person. She's just really talented, but she basically everyone that we work with right now, everyone that I feel fortunate to work with, if I was going to go back, I'd just be focusing on the people that I can work with to be the best. AJ was a good example. We started working together early on, and he was a tremendous asset to the roofing business. So I think if I could go back, I would double down on that. Finding people that just really wanted to succeed with me and really understood. And it probably, it's hard to find those people. They're very rare. So I think I would have doubled down on that a little bit more. Someone to help me be more accountable with the profitability in the beginning, and not just say, hey, good job, you made these sales, but really focus on the profit part. Even now today, Tisha and we have Thursday morning meetings that we just started last week. And we've done consistent meetings, but now I wish I had done that from the beginning. Is every single week I meet with somebody who runs my books and understands where the money's going all the time.
Yep.
I think I would have raised money somehow. I would have said, hey, do you want to be a silent partner? You don't make any decisions, take a risk on me, and you get some equity somehow. I would have done that because I think I would have had a much better time. And create a business plan, really start with the one-page business plan, but then really get detailed into that and spend that money. I probably would have tried to get at least, 10 years ago, 50 grand would have gone a lot longer, a lot farther. So yeah, I would have done that in the beginning. I would have tried to get as much money as possible and always know that you're going to spend it really fast. And it's all an educated risk, educated decision of spending that money on marketing. I did a lot of things well. I really did partner. I had we talked about this before we recorded, but the people that you work with are really important. So my ABC rep, still very good friends, close.
Right.
He helped me a ton.
Huge.
My shingle manufacturer rep, he's amazing. You got to find those two people and they really will help you. Then your crew, going back to production.
But don't you think those reps, that's more important. Like you said, ABC, it's more important about your rep than whether it's SRS, whether it's whatever.
Yeah, 1,000. We talked about before we hit record. Do not just listen to I heard Beacon's good or SRS or ABC.
Yeah,
no. It's the people. It is
same with the shingles.
Yeah, the shingles the same way. There's 7 major manufacturers or 8 or whatever you want to call it. We love Atlas. We can sell Scotchgard, but at the end of the day, I think Atlas is the best. People think GAF is the best. IKO is the best. Whatever. You have to be very solid in understanding why you're standing behind that product. But the rep that you have with that organization really will make or break you. It really will help you. If there's ever a warranty claim, which we've definitely had one, and it worked really fast. But just educating, giving you resources, helping with training for new people, that, all that matters. It really makes your life a lot easier.
Ready for the next question?
Let's go.
Okay. We got to sell, man. Like you said, nothing happens until somebody sells something.
Yep.
So that means we've got to have leads. What do we do to get leads? Because it's totally different these days.
Yep.
I think, a few years ago, it didn't matter that much. There was so much business out of it. The fish were jumping into the boat. You didn't need to be a rocket scientist, man. But today it's harder to buy leads, LSA isn't working like it used to.
No.
All of these things. So what do we do? And we got that 5 to 10% spend.
Mm-hmm.
Where do we start? What do we do?
Well, we still consistently use Brad Akers' plan with door hangers, postcards, yard signs. I think that's the low-hanging fruit. It gives yourself, if you're a startup, or your salespeople, sales activity that really can expand the marketing and the market share that you have in your town. I think I would do that first, so that you can use dope marketing, you can use anyone else. Target specific neighborhoods. If you're, I'm speaking of retail, but even it works even better when there's storms. But target neighborhoods, run 4x4 campaigns or 8x8 campaigns. That's 8. It's one postcard every week for 8 weeks, or one for every 4 weeks, and then hang door hangers, and then put out yard signs. I mean, it's going to be different for everyone, but those things really work. That's how I'd start. I think I'd be part of networking groups. Some people love BNI, or they love Chamber of Commerce events. Definitely sold a $600,000 apartment complex with one handshake. Never even had a conversation with a guy at a Chamber of Commerce event. However, that's once in a million, basically. So I would be really consistent with the participation in the organizations that you're passionate about. So Clay loves the surfing community. There's 250 families in that surfing community. So he's really good about, he just networks there. We get leads through that. We get leads through realtors, through insurance agents. Run video box campaigns that I can go on and on about that, and then run, ProLine automations. I would say this, find some automation software. There's really, really affordable automation software all over the place. It needs to be coming from your phone number so that you're consistently reaching out to these people, because they're going to think that you're going to quit. If you're just starting out, they're waiting for you to fail. So you have to show them, the same way as Clay started 6 months ago. I knew, because I know how people work, that it wasn't just going to be easy. He's an amazing dude. He's been in Savannah for 25 years. People know him. People love him. He's like the unofficial mayor of Tybee Island. He's coached for 30 years. So hundreds of families know him. And I knew it would be challenging because he's starting a new endeavor in a space that he's never been known for. So it takes time. They're waiting for him to fail. So that's why having automations and consistent follow-up is so important, because now after 6 months, they're like, oh, you're still doing it. And so he's starting to get leads. So it's going to take, I'd say, at least 6 months for people to wait for you to fail. And that's just the way humans are. We fail at a lot of things, and that's okay. But you need to show consistency with all these networking partners and centers of influences, something I didn't do really well in the beginning. So I definitely focus on that.
What you're talking about is doing more with less, because we're going to have fewer leads any way you look at it. I mean, leads have slowed down. I don't care what you do, but that means that every one of those leads, you've got to make sure that you're doing everything that you can in those quotes, because we've got to improve our close rate. That's what's going to do, fewer leads. You mentioned Brad Akers' program, which is great. It's all about how to get referrals and so forth. Brad's been on the show. Make sure you go back and listen to that. But I mean, and then what you do, our deal is very similar. Dominate neighborhoods. You get one job in a neighborhood, that's where you start. And then your postcards, your job signs, your door hangers all around that neighborhood. Hey, come see our work. We're working for your neighbor and so forth. That's doing more with every lead that you get. And that's what you've got to do. You give somebody a quote. You just don't go on to the next deal. You follow up. And that's where, ProLine's got those great automations that will keep you in the hunt. That you have to show people that you really want that work, and that's going to make the difference. You've got to do that, and you've got to just every one of those leads, improve your close rate. You don't need as many leads.
It's totally true. In the beginning, you're going to get some pity points. Oh, you're a young guy. You whatever it is. Or you're just starting out. We like you, but you'll get some jobs like that, and you're probably not going to make that much money. You're going to think you're making money, but you're not, because you don't know how to price yet. I'd say, going back to your question about what would I do differently, I wish I had fully wrapped my vehicle first. That's where the money comes in. I didn't have the money to do that, so I just used, we paid $600 or $800 to put vinyl on it. And that's fine. At least do that. Yep. Have a professional put vinyl on your vehicle.
It's a billboard going down the highway everywhere. People will see you. And if you've branded correctly, they will remember. and don't put the damn phone number on there. Nobody cares.
We're going around in circles about branding and websites and how do they reach you and admin and all that stuff. But yeah, I guess, there's not a lot else to add, but don't listen to the people that are online. They're like, I can do this better than this guy or this guy. They may be really good at sales again. They may be good at production. They may have really good accounting, and they may have funding to build a brand and do these things and build these teams. But a true business owner that built something from scratch is a very complex thing to do. It is not simple. There is no shortcut. It is always hard. Learn from our mistakes. Join a mastermind. Listen to the podcast. I listened to 17 of Dave's podcasts, and I figured out that was from my Atlas sales rep, actually. He sent me a link to Dave's podcast. I listened to a bunch of episodes. Not only did I listen, I took notes. I had one of these things, these little black notebooks, took a bunch of notes in there.
Wow.
And actually did the thing. Do it. That's free. You don't have to pay anyone for that. Just listen to good information and then write it down and then actually do the thing. Start there. And that will help you tons. But then when you're ready, we have these mastermind groups, and we keep them small. We keep great. To 8 to 10 people. And, not everybody shows up every week, but they're every week. And we'll help you answer these questions. You're going to have 1,000 questions. I wish that I had joined one. That's a good answer to that question. I wish right when I got my first money of any kind, I wish I had just committed to a mastermind, because I would have vastly accelerated my growth and vastly reduced the dollars and painful stress of mistakes that I could have made and did make, not being in a group of people like that. So that is a plug for a mastermind, but I genuinely think that we do something different. I think that we're trying to build business owners. We're not trying to build like a sales team, and we're keeping that group small on purpose. And we're trying to grow another group. We want to grow another small group to do another 8 to 10 contractors and help that group of people and stay in that group and really help each other each week. Sometimes it's therapy, but sometimes it's really, really helpful for your business. And Dave's been coaching for a long time. We do hour and a half, jumpstart coaching sessions where we go through this whole thing, the one-page business plan. We try to answer all these questions for what's important to you and your business. And that's what you got to do. You got to surround yourself with people that are willing to put time, effort, and energy into helping you achieve your goal. What's your why? Achieve the why.
And to have this support also is so important, because you tell me if I'm wrong, but man, you feel like you're the only guy out there that's making all these screw ups and so forth.
Very
it's lonely out there, man. You are in the desert. And if you don't have the support from your family, from other peers, it's really hard. How do you know if you're doing the right thing? And with this group, I just love it, because we're talking about things that what works, what doesn't, and everybody's experience, and they're there to share and help each other. And that's what our mastermind group is all about. You're so right. I think that's so important, particularly even at any stage of the game, but when you're starting off, you're going to need some support.
100%.
So do you think we're wrapped? That's a good, we could go on and on. We could have another episode on this, but I got a lot of questions.
I have way more notes, but we're going to stop there. That's an hour of me ranting about stuff, and I hope it was helpful. I think I wish that I had this knowledge 15 years ago. And I hope this helps anyone who's out there interested or in the roofing industry that wants to improve and wants to live a more meaningful, profitable business. We're all trying to achieve the same thing.
I will leave you with this. The smart guy doesn't learn from his own mistakes. He learns from the mistakes of others. And I screw that quote up. I say that all the time, but don't you think, John?
It's 100% true.
And thanks for sharing those mistakes with us. We could go on, and I didn't even get into mine after 30 years, man. Crazy. All right, John. Hey, it's always great to see you, and we'll take it up next week. Thanks so much.